Just a quick reminder that these Devos are recorded live every Wednesday at noon on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Orchard Christian Fellowship. So if you want to be involved in the chat, uh, then join us Wednesdays at noon. Now enjoy this Devo.
So, we had Mr. Scott talk to us about prayer and about the transfiguration, about the mountaintop experiences. And so we were just going to chat about that a bit because I think that's a really good part of the Christian life that is necessary. It's actually a part of discipleship, are these moments where God makes himself real to you, but they're actually few and far in between, if we're honest about it, you know? And so please comment in the chat, have you had mountaintop experiences before? If so, what were they like? And what is it like going up to the mountain and coming down from the mountain? Also, just random question, have you ever climbed a mountain, Jackson?
I have climbed a mountain.
All right, tell me what that was like. What was that like?
Well, the one experience, the one example I have in mind, we were in New York, the Core Boys.
Core Boys!
We went on a trip over the summer.
Okay.
Into New York. And we climbed the mountain, and it was more than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But then the next day I climbed up it again because I wanted phone service.
So one was because of the trip. The other one was just necessity. You had to get up that mountain.
Well, yeah. So the first time I realized there was phone service, and I was like, "Wow, this is great. I'm gonna climb mountains more often."
So I can get Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
But to be fair, that was crazy. I mean, if you had told me sooner that this is what we'd be talking about, I would have pulled up picture I have me on the mountain.
Oh, man, that's
I
awesome.
Think I still could.
Hey, we got time. Yeah, I really liked the point that you said because it's for anyone who's climbed a mountain, it takes so much more work than you think of to get up there.
Right.
Like so much more work. Are you gonna put it up or yeah, just show it to the camera. There it is. Woo!
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Look at that view.
It's just a nice view, pretty much. That's all you need to know.
So I think the first real mountain that I climbed was a mountain. We had a mountain in college that our freshman year at our military school, you had to hike up, and then you'd get up and see and get to the top. And then by senior year, you would actually be running up and down the mountain. And so it was a pretty cool imagery of doing something that the first time you do it, it's insanely hard and you don't want to do it again. But then 4 years from now, as you progress, you're gonna actually do it easily. So I thought there was a lesson in that. But what I find from mountaintop experiences is when I'm hiking up a mountain, there's exponentially more work involved. And sometimes I wonder, like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Is it worth it getting to this view and seeing some of these things? Like, if you've been on one mountaintop, have you seen one mountaintop, you've seen them all. But every time I find myself on a mountaintop, I'm so glad that I did it. Right? Now, leading up to it, I'm mad. I'm tired. We thought it was 5 miles. Turns out it was 7 miles. You know, you're like, oh, gosh. One time I slipped in a creek, and so then I just had wet shoes hiking up a mountain. It was terrible.
And even going down.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You know, you say, is it worth it on your way up? And then you're at the top, and you're like, yes, this was definitely worth it. But then going down, it's almost harder than going up. And then you're like, but was it really worth it?
Yeah.
But no matter what, at the top, you always think it's worth it.
Oh, yeah. My wife and I and one of her friends, we hiked up in Acadia National Park. We went up I call it the Sunrise Mountain because it's called the Sunrise Hike, but it's the big mountain that you you can drive up or you can hike up to see the sunrise. And
Mm-hmm.
it was so funny because we got up there, we saw the sunrise, and then we all jokingly said we should have had somebody drive up with a car waiting for us so we can go down.
Yeah.
So we all know what those are like. And so this is the illustration that is being used in the devotion this week to talk about prayer and time with God, specifically this idea of a transfiguration. So maybe the question for us now, Mary, thank you for joining in. Please comment on this as well. Is what does that have any application to being with God? I mean, looking at the disciples' journey, you can see a little bit of hiking up the mountain. I mean, they've put some time in with Jesus, not having places to sleep, constantly being on the move, being kicked out of towns, having some tension, probably tired, probably sweaty, probably smelly, like just really going the everyday grind. And then they get up to this moment where Jesus reveals himself to him, like we've talked about this before. The transfiguration is the moment where Jesus says, I'm the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that you've been looking for, here it is. I am it. I mean, it's such a huge moment. But yeah, and so you have that, but then you got to come down from it. And so does that have any application to our faith? Like, what do you think it means to climb up, have a moment with God, and climb down?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of us have experienced this sort of thing, especially to all the youth out there that have recently. I say recently, but it's been a year that we haven't been able to do any of this stuff. But gone on camps and mission trips and all of that. You reach this point, usually at the end of the trip or camp or whatever, where you feel so close to God and that, God is really right in front of you and as tangible as God could ever be. So, I mean, I think a lot of people, have felt this and felt the, like I said, nearly tangible presence of God on the mountaintop. And then you come down and, well, also on the mountaintop, I've done this so many times. I've been like, all right, God, you're the best. You're right here. I know you're here. I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to do this again. And then the day after, you come down from the mountain and you're like, oh,
Here I am. And it's the worst. It's the worst in high school. Because you go on a retreat and you're rededicating my life, baby.
Every year.
It's happening. It's happening. And then Monday at school happens and you're right back to doing exact. You walk in, boom, right back exactly to how you were living. Oh gosh, that is the best description of my entire faith journey in high school. Was quarterly rededications of my faith. Mm-hmm. Just routinely coming up. Yep. And so, I mean, if you guys identify with this, let us know. But you make a really great point. It's we have these moments and we want to stay there. And I actually wonder if those moments are few and far in between because they're supposed to be. At the end of the day, getting on a mountain, the amount of time that you spend at the top is so small compared to the journey up and the journey down, And so what if in all reality, these are moments where God is calling us. I just noticed this in that passage in the Transfiguration. God called some of the disciples with him onto a mountain. So Jesus says, Peter, James, John, come with me up to this mountain. He calls them up. He has a moment with them, and then he brings them back down. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder even if that's kind of our refuel moments, where you're working, and even even the work to get secluded with God can be difficult, but it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Scott, if he were here, he might tie this to prayer in that sense of God is calling us to step away at times, right? To step away from the grind, to step away from the daily struggle that we have and get secluded with him. We see this throughout the discipleship process, throughout the disciples' journey of when they come back, and God had just given them, I think it was in Mark chapter 6, Jesus had just given them authority to cast out demons and go and proclaim the gospel. They go, they do it, they come back, and they tell about everything that God had done through them. And the next thing Jesus says is, come away with me to a solitary place and get rest. I wonder if these mountaintop experiences, or even if our prayer life is going to have moments like that, where Jesus is actually calling us and he's saying, come away with me and get some rest.
Mm-hmm.
And what if that is actually one of the more important things in our lives to be doing? Because what we need these moments, because these moments carry us into the valleys. It seems like our life is full of nothing but this, right? And it would be great if we could just go mountaintop to mountaintop to mountaintop to mountaintop. But I don't really think that's what life is. I think in all honesty, these mountaintop experiences are God revealing to us what's been with us the whole time. You know?
Mm-hmm.
The idea of we have these moments so that we can remember in the light what we need in the darkness. When we're going in the valley, when we're fighting to come back up to the next mountain. I don't know. I think it gives me just a little bit of perspective about, I've never really thought of it in terms of God actually calling me to prayer in terms of, hey, step away from some of that stuff real quick. Let's just spend time together. Come over here and get some rest. Come over here and get some nourishment. Like, that's actually how Jesus cares about us, you know? It's not just, I want you to do better. Or, hey, you need these mountaintop moments because you need to rededicate your life, high schooler, you know? It could actually be, I want to reveal myself to you. I want to rest with you. I want to nourish you. There's actually more compassion and care and love in the mountaintop moments, and it's what we need for the valleys.
Mm-hmm.
I was just watching a movie and they use "you dig" a lot, and I literally almost said "you dig" right to you, Jackson.
Oh man.
I almost said it, but I didn't. In saying it, in saying I didn't say it, I just said it. Oh gosh. So hey, if you guys have a comment or something, let us know. We want to leave you today with an image. We talked about this in our core meeting yesterday. It's kind of a mental shift in terms of prayer, discipleship, and faith. And here's kind of how we described it. We actually took a whiteboard and we drew a target. And if you think of a target, it's got, the big circle, smaller circle, smaller circle, smaller circles, and then the center dot. And in most religions and organizations, where do you start? You start on the outside, right? You're always outside the group. And then, you learn a couple things, you commit to a couple things, you pass a couple things, and then the more you grow in knowledge or in time with the group, the closer you get to the center, to the in group. What's mind-blowing is that Jesus never uses that structure at all. Matter of fact, when he chooses his disciples, he doesn't tell them, hey, I need you to get to this level. I need you to access this type of knowledge. I need you to spend this amount of time with me, and then you'll be with me. What he actually does is he says, follow me. So as Christians, as children of God, adopted children of God, there is nothing we can learn or do or in terms of time to dictate our relationship with God. We are already starting at the center. We are not starting on the outside. So in our prayer life, in our faith walk, in our time spent with Jesus, the whole point is to start at the center. The more we are with Christ, dwelling, being, praying, living by faith in the presence of Christ, the more we will seek and discover all of these other things. And I guess what that really frees me from, and what I hope it frees us from, is sometimes I see my relationship with God as well, I've got to do this. I'm confused about this. I have doubts about this. So maybe I have to figure this stuff out, and then I can be closer with God. But that is works-based righteousness, and it will always fail. It will not work. It is not what we have been created to do. In reality, our system is, I am with Christ, and while being with Christ, then I get to discover some of these doubts. I get to discover some of these truths. I get to see a change in my life. It's actually reversed. There is no work, pray, be faithful, then I'll be with you. It's be with me, and then work will grow out of that. Faith will increase out of that. Prayer will increase out of that. We work from the inside out, not from the outside in. Any other thoughts?
I mean, I just think that it's important to know, like, it's just another perspective on it. You know, Jesus isn't on the world and on the world. He's in us. So, you know, that's another reason to work from the inside out, because, you know, the outside is just all of the earth and all of your surroundings and the desires of the flesh and whatnot. But within you is where Jesus really is. So that's why you got to work from the inside out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like people say, well, I still have this question, or I don't get this about God, so I'm going to wait until that gets figured out. But in reality, Jesus looks and goes, okay, follow me. Like he doesn't care that you have doubts or questions or frustrations even. He's like, all right, just I am at the door of your heart, and I knock. If you open the door, guess what I'll do? Well, I'll give you my playbook, and I'll say memorize it. There will be a quiz at the end. No. I want to have dinner with you. I want to have fellowship with you. You know, that is who Jesus is. So maybe this week in your prayers, spend some time with the TV off, with all the noise off, and go to a secluded place like a mountaintop, right? And be with Jesus. Be with Jesus. And remember, as you go throughout your day, as you leave that mountaintop, whenever it happens, and you go into those valleys, you are at the center. You're already in. You're already in.